Forged and Risen podcast, episode 7, Win the First Hour and Win the Day. What's going on? And welcome back to the Forged and Risen podcast. Before we get into today's episode, make sure you check out the books, the systems, and the full podcast at forgedandrisen.com. Chapter 1, How You Start Determines How You Finish, or I can say how you start determines everything ever you pick. Today we're talking about something simple but powerful enough to completely shift your life if you actually apply it. Win the first hour and you win the day. Most people hear that and ignore it. They think it's basic, but basic doesn't mean easy, and it definitely doesn't mean applied, because if it was applied, most people wouldn't be stuck in the same cycles they're in right now. The truth is, your day is not decided in the afternoon, it's decided early, in the first moments after you wake up. That's where the tone is set, that's where direction is chosen. That's where control is either taken or given away. And most people give it away. They hit snooze. Then they hit it again. They stay in bed longer than they said they would. And right there, they've already broken their first promise of the day. Then the phone comes out, notifications, messages, social media, emails, other people's lives, other people's priorities. And before they've even taken a single intentional action, they've already lost control of their focus. Now they're reacting. Now they're scattered. Now they're behind. And they spend the rest of the day trying to recover. Listen carefully. If you don't take control of your first hour will take control of you. There's no neutral start. You're either leading your morning or your morning is leading you. And whichever one wins early sets the tone for everything that follows, because that first hour is not just time, it's direction, it's alignment, it's identity being reinforced in real time. If you start your day with hesitation, you carry hesitation into your decisions. If you start your day distracted, you stay distracted. If you start your day slow, you stay slow when it matters. But if you start your day with structure, with movement, with clarity, with intention, everything shifts. You create momentum. And momentum is everything, because once you start moving with purpose, it becomes easier to stay in motion. Your focus sharpens. Your energy stabilizes, your decisions become cleaner. And now instead of trying to recover your day, you're actually building it. That's the difference. Disciplined people understand this. They don't leave their mornings to chance. They don't wake up asking, how do I feel? They decide what needs to be done, and they move, they execute, not because they feel like it, but because they understand what's at stake. They know how they start will carry into everything else, into their discipline, into their confidence, into their results. Because a strong life is not built randomly. It's built intentionally, and that intention starts immediately. Not after scrolling, not after checking the world, immediately. And here's the truth. You're not bad at mornings. You're just undisciplined in how you approach them. Because the moment you decide your first hour matters, everything begins to change. You stop delaying. You stop negotiating. You stop drifting, and you start executing. Because now there's a standard. Now there's alignment between what you say you want and how you actually live. And once that alignment is built, everything else becomes easier to control. And over time, something powerful starts to happen. You begin to trust yourself again. You stop questioning whether you're going to follow through. You stop relying on motivation to get you moving. Because your actions have already proven who you are. That's where confidence actually comes from, not talk, evidence. This isn't about a perfect routine. This is about ownership. Ownership of your time, ownership of your focus, ownership of your direction. Because the people who win consistently, they take control earlier. They start stronger. They eliminate hesitation. They build momentum before most people are even fully awake. So if you want to change your life, don't try to fix everything at once. Start here. Start with the first hour. Because if you can control that, you can control everything that follows, and that's where it begins. Forged and Risen podcast. Episode 7, Win the First Hour and Win the Day. Chapter 2, The first hour is where discipline is built. What most people misunderstand about discipline is where it actually comes from. They think discipline shows up later in the day. They think it's something you tap into when things get hard. They think it's something you find when you need it. But that's not how it works. Discipline isn't found in the moment. It's built before the moment ever arrives. And the first hour of your day, that's where it's built. That's where it's trained. That's where it's reinforced. Day after day, decision after decision. Because discipline is not one big action. It's a series of small, controlled decisions made consistently. And the first hour gives you the highest leverage opportunity to make those decisions. Why? Because nothing has hit you yet. No stress, no pressure, no distractions pulling you in 10 different directions. It's just you and your ability to follow through. That's why it matters so much. Because if you can't control yourself when it's quiet, you won't control yourself when it gets loud. Let that sink in. If you can't execute when there's no resistance, you will fold when resistance shows up. That's why the first hour is not just about productivity. It's about identity. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about building evidence that says, I do what I say I'm going to do, not when it's convenient, not when I feel like it, not when it's easy, but because I decided. That's discipline, and that's what most people are missing. They keep trying to fix their entire life without fixing the first decisions of their day. They want consistency, but they start inconsistent. They want focus, but they start distracted. They want confidence, but they start by breaking promises to themselves. And every time you hit snooze, every time you delay, every time you say, I'll start in a minute, you're not just wasting time. You're training yourself to hesitate. You're training yourself to negotiate. You're training yourself to break trust with yourself. And that carries into everything. Because the way you do one thing is how you start doing everything. But the opposite is also true. Every time you get up when you said you would, you build trust. Every time you move when you don't feel like it, you build discipline. Every time you follow through without hesitation, you build identity. And that identity becomes powerful because now it's not about forcing yourself anymore. Now it's about who you are. You become the person who executes. You become the person who doesn't wait. You become the person who doesn't need motivation to move. That's when everything starts to change. And it all comes back to the first hour because that hour is your training ground. It's where you practice control. It's where you sharpen focus. It's where you eliminate hesitation. It's where you separate from the version of you that reacts and step into the version of you that leads. And listen, this doesn't have to be complicated. People overthink this all the time. They think they need the perfect routine, the perfect setup, the perfect system before they start. You don't. You just need standards, simple, clear, non-negotiable standards. Wake up when you said you would. Get out of bed immediately. No phone, no scrolling, no distractions. Move your body. Wake your mind up. Get clear on what matters today and start. That's it. Simple, but not easy. Because the difficulty isn't in the actions. The difficulty is in the consistency. The difficulty is in showing up the same way when you're tired, when you're unmotivated, when you don't feel like it, when nobody is watching. That's where discipline is built, not in big moments, in small repeated ones. And the first hour gives you that opportunity every single day, a chance to reset, a chance to realign, a chance to prove to yourself that you're still in control. Because if you can win that hour, you don't just build a better morning, you build a stronger version of yourself. And that version carries into everything else you do, your work, your focus, your energy, your decisions, your consistency. Everything improves because you started with discipline instead of delay. That's the shift. And once you feel that shift, you'll never want to go back because now you understand. The first hour isn't just part of your day. It's the foundation of it. Forged and Risen Podcast. Episode 7. Win the first hour and win the day. Chapter 3, the morning routine that actually works now. Let's get practical. Because at this point, you understand the importance. You understand that the first hour sets the tone. You understand that discipline is built early. You understand that how you start determines how you finish. But the question becomes, what do you actually do? What does a winning first hour really look like? Because this is where most people either overcomplicate it or they never commit to it at all. They build routines that are too long, too unrealistic, too dependent on motivation. And then when they can't maintain it, they fall off completely. So let's simplify this. A strong first hour is not about perfection. It's about control, It's about intention. It's about eliminating chaos before it has a chance to take over your day. And it starts the moment you wake up, not 5 minutes later, not after one scroll. Right then, you wake up and you move. No negotiation. No laying there thinking about it. No, just a minute, because the moment you hesitate, you're already slipping back into the old version of yourself. So you get up immediately. That's step one. Then you create separation from distraction, separation from noise, separation from the outside world. That means no phone, no notifications, no social media. Because the fastest way to lose control of your morning is to let the world into your mind before you take in control of it yourself. You protect that space, you keep it yours. Then you wake your body up. You don't need a full workout, but you need movement. Something that tells your system, we're active, we're engaged, we're not drifting today. That could be push-ups, a walk, stretching, anything that gets your blood moving and your energy up, because energy matters, and most people feel unmotivated simply because they never activated themselves. Then you wake your mind up. And this is critical, because a distracted mind creates a distracted day. So you get clear, you think, you write, you map out what matters, not everything, just what actually matters, because the goal is not to do more. The goal is to do what matters better. So you identify your priorities, you define your focus, you remove the guesswork. Now you're not reacting. Now you're executing. And from there, you take action small, direct, intentional action. You don't wait until later. You don't warm up for hours. You start, because starting early builds momentum, and momentum carries. That's the structure. Wake up, move, protect your mind, activate your body, get clear, take action, simple but powerful. And here's what you need to understand. It's not the exact routine that changes your life. It's the consistency of it. It's showing up every day and executing it, even when it's inconvenient, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it, even when your mind is telling you to delay, because that's the real test, not when it's easy, when it's not. And that's where most people fall apart. They rely on feeling ready. They rely on motivation to carry them. And when that disappears, so does their routine. But disciplined people don't rely on feeling ready. They rely on standards. They follow the structure regardless of how they feel, because they know something most people ignore. Feelings are temporary. Standards are permanent. And if you build your mornings on standards, you remove the decision. You remove the hesitation. You remove the debate. You just execute. That's power. Because now your day isn't determined by your mood. It's determined by your structure. And structure creates freedom, not restriction. Freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from stress. Freedom from constantly feeling behind, because now you're ahead. Now you're leading. Now you're in control. And once you experience that consistently, you'll start to realize something. You don't need more time. You need better starts. Because the people who win consistently aren't doing dramatically more than everyone else. They're just starting better. They're starting with clarity. They're starting with energy. They're starting with intention. And that carries into everything. So don't overthink this. Don't wait for the perfect system. Build a simple structure and commit to it. Because the power is not in complexity. The power is in execution. And if you can execute your first hour consistently, you won't just change your mornings, you'll change your life. Forged and Risen Podcast, Episode 7, Win the First Hour and Win the Day. Chapter 4, The Standard Moving Forward. So now you know. You know the truth about your mornings. You know where your days are really won or lost. You know that the first hour is not small, it's everything. And at this point, this isn't about information anymore. This is about a decision. Because nothing changes if you just hear this and move on. Nothing changes if this becomes another good episode. Nothing changes if you agree with it, but don't apply it. This only works if you execute. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. Are you going to keep starting your days the same way? Or are you finally going to take control of them? Because the reality is, your life right now is a reflection of your patterns, not your intentions, not your goals, not what you say you want, your patterns. And your morning is one of the strongest patterns you have. It repeats every single day, which means it's either building you or it's slowly breaking you down. There is no neutral. There is no, it doesn't matter. It matters every single time. So here's the standard moving forward. You don't negotiate with your morning anymore. You don't debate it. You don't delay it. You don't hit snooze and hope the day somehow recovers. You decide and you move. That's it. You wake up when you said you would. You get out of bed immediately. You don't reach for your phone. You don't scroll. You don't hand your mind over before you've taken control of it. You protect that first hour like it matters, because it does. You move your body. You wake yourself up. You get clear on what actually matters today, and you take action before the world has a chance to distract you. That's the new standard. Not perfect, but consistent. And here's where it gets real. You're not going to feel like doing this every day. Some mornings you'll be tired. Some mornings you'll be unmotivated. Some mornings your mind will try to convince you to stay comfortable. That's expected. That's part of it. But those are the mornings that matter the most, because that's where discipline is proven. Not when it's easy, when it's not. That's where you separate. That's where you stop being average. That's where you stop negotiating with weakness. Because every time you choose action over comfort, you build strength. Every time you follow through, you build trust with yourself. Every time you execute without hesitation, you reinforce the identity of someone who leads their life. And that identity compounds. Day after day, hour after hour, decision after decision, until one day you look up and you're no longer the person who struggles to stay consistent. You're the person who just executes. That's the goal, not hype, not motivation, execution. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, you win the first hour, no exceptions, no excuses, no negotiating. You wake up on time, you get up immediately, you protect your mind, you move your body, you get clear, and you start. 7 days, that's it. But you do it right, because if you can stack 7 days, you can build momentum. And once momentum is built, everything gets easier to sustain. So don't overthink it. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until you feel ready. You start tomorrow, because how you start determines how you finish. And if this message hit you today, make sure you like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're serious about building discipline, structure, and real systems in your life, check out the books, the programs, and the full podcast at forgedandrisen.com. I'll see you in the next one.